You're listening to Romancing in Paris on Paris Underground Radio.
Hello, and welcome to the Romancing in Paris podcast. I'm your host, Lily Heise. In this podcast, we'll be traveling around the city as I pick out my top romantic spots per arrondissement. You don't have to visit these places only as a couple. Exploring them can be the expression of your own love of Paris. Are you ready to get romancing in Paris? Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Romancing in Paris. In this latest episode, we continue our romantic explorations of the right bank by heading north of the 16th district and into the 17th. Occupying a large swath of the northwest of Paris, it spreads from the Arc de Triomphe up to Place de Clichy. The south part of the 17th is filled with elegant house-minion buildings, the middle of which has whimsical and chic mansions of La Plaine Monceau, and the north has a bit of a mix of village-like areas and some slightly gruffer parts near Place de Clichy. Because the 17th doesn't have any major monuments or museums, it is rather a little visited district. Nevertheless, it has a few wonderful romantic gems, beguiling lanes, a hidden castle, a unique, secret museum, hip new restaurants in what is an up-and-coming Parisian hotspot. We're going to have to wait for future episodes to discover all of these places. Because in this first episode on the 17th, I wanted to take you to what is likely its ultimate romantic place. Grab your chérie. We're going to the Square des Batignolles. Like the other outer arrondissements of Paris, the land that now constitutes the 17th district used to be outside the city limits. A vast amount of the territory used to be royal hunting grounds, which coexisted with a few convents and monasteries, dotting the pastoral landscape of vegetable gardens and orchards. Of course, the French Revolution changed all of that, and the area evolved in the early 19th century into three zones: Les Batignolles, La Plaine Monceau, and Terne. All three of these were annexed into Greater Paris in 1860, and the two former areas are closely linked, both being part of the Haussmannization of Paris, with wide avenues and elegant stone buildings. This new area became one of the most fashionable districts of the late 19th century. However, the area north of these evolved much differently, with the founding and development of the middle-class village of Les Batignolles. We're quite lucky that much of this has survived. There is a lovely pocket of the neighborhood which still retains a village feel. Over the past few years, Les Batignolles has been gradually getting hipper and hipper, thanks to a steady stream of contemporary restaurants, cool cafes, creative concept shops, and more places which are popular with the young Parisian families who've moved here. Les Batignolles revolves around what was once the main square of the village, Place du Docteur Félix Lebourgeois. The square was created in 1825 when Rue des Batignolles was driven through the fields that once sprawled through the area. It encircles the neoclassical Église Saint-Marie des Batignolles, built in conjunction with the square. Once home to the local town hall, the square still feels like the center of the Batignolles village, thanks to its little boutiques, buzzing cafe terraces, and shaded benches. But don't sit down here, or at least not just yet. Our romantic site is just beyond the square. Now, as we've discussed previously on the podcast, in episode 7, the word square is a little misleading in French because it doesn't mean the same as in English. Instead, it is used for a park, which is its significance for the Square des Batignolles. When Les Batignolles village became part of Paris in 1860, the area fell under the jurisdiction of Napoleon III's garden planner, Jean-Charles Adolphe Alphonse, who chose this plot of land, then considered a wasteland, for one of the 26 parks and woods he built around the city. Like the other parks he designed, including the Bois de Boulogne and the Butte Chaumont, here too we see a more natural English-style garden, instead of the previously popular rigid manicured jardin à la française. The 4-acre park has curved lanes and a wide variety of mature trees, including some from as far as Turkey, China, Japan, and America, like the giant sequoia. There's also a lovely pond that is fed by a natural stream which flows throughout the park. It is inhabited by families of ducks and large red Japanese carp, or koi, and an unusual sculpture created in 1930 by Louis de Monard, called Vautours, or vultures. I'm not sure if vultures once roamed the area. Your wanderings will also take you past an old-fashioned carousel and plenty of inviting benches where you can take a break with your amoureux. I'm also fond of the secluded vintage pavilion that you will find amongst the trees, the perfect spot to steal a kiss. The square has also made a few appearances in French popular culture. It had a cameo in the legendary French singer Barbara's 1973 song, Perlimpinpin. The passage goes like this: the taste of water, the taste of bread, and the Perlimpinpin in the Square des Batignolles. Because of this song, the central lane of the square is now called l'Allée Barbara. It also had a larger role in Yves Dutroy's 1976 song, entitled Les Batignolles, which is in reference to its location along the Saint-Lazare tracks. So in the Square des Batignolles, I forded the river to see the pigeons flying. We were running to catch them. On the deck, watching the clouds, we inhaled the crazy smell that emerged from passing steam locomotives. And at the heart of the white smoke, everything else disappeared. Ah, a little bit of industrial romance. Charming, don't you think? Now you'll have a little soundtrack for your visit. I chose the Square des Batignolles as it also makes for a good date spot beyond a mere stroll. If you would like to have a picnic, there are shady lawn areas, and you can pick up some supplies a short walk away from the square in the Marché des Batignolles. Although it is an unattractive modern building, the market has some excellent top-quality vendors where you can procure an array of delicacies from fromage and charcuterie to Lebanese munchies. It's open Tuesday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday straight through from 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Sunday 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're more interested in a small snack or coffee to take to the park, there are a number of great options right nearby. Opposite the park, at 82 Place du Docteur Félix Le Bourgeois, is the trendy coffee shop Dose, where you can get the best coffee in the 17th. made with beans roasted in-house. In addition to coffee, they have a range of homemade pastries, modern lunch items, and a highly coveted Sunday brunch. On the other side of the place is a branch of Scoop Me a Cookie. As you might gather by the name, this little shop at 72 Rue Legendre tempts you with large scoop-sized cookies filled with huge chunks of creative toppings. They definitely provide an orgasmic sugar high and perhaps have some aphrodisiacal properties. If you're enjoying this episode of Romancing in Paris, you may also like to listen in to our sister podcast, The Heart of You, an engaging show about spirituality and divination. Romancing in Paris will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
And now back to Romancing in Paris.
Alternatively, if you might be looking for somewhere to go after you visit the enchanting Square de Batignolles, around the main square there are a number of cafes and restaurants. Right on the place, and facing the Square de Batignolles, is the neighborhood Café Felixio, perfect for apéro. Or a few minutes' walk would take you to L'Ébéniste du Vin, a great wine bar and shop at 72 Rue Boursault, where you can enjoy some great wine and nibbles. There are also some excellent restaurants in the area, perfect for a date night. However, those might have to wait for future episodes of the podcast. Lastly, if you would like to stay on the move, right around the corner from the Square de Batignolles is another park, the modern Parc Martin Luther King. Built atop the old train yards of the Gare Saint-Lazare, it was created in 2004 by landscape architect Jacqueline Osty, and there is still ongoing construction of the park today. Environmental considerations ranked high in its design specifications, and the park contributes to water recycling. It brings Alphonse's ideals of naturalism into the 21st century, as here we have wild flowers, swaying sheaths of wheat, and water pools bordered with catskills. It's particularly lovely in spring when it's ablaze in blossoms. Although it's less romantic, it's also fascinating to compare and contrast the two green spaces, and combining visiting both of them makes for an ideal romantic outing in the 17th district. Thank you for listening to this latest edition of Romancing in Paris. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe. That way you won't miss the next one. Ratings or reviews get a big je t'aime from me. If you would like to discover more romantic places in the district, see my website, jetaimemeneither.com, for my guides to the top romantic spots per arrondissement. Until next time, happy romancing in Paris.
This episode of Romancing in Paris was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please visit parisundergroundradio.com.